Hi, everyone. Today, I want to answer a question that someone posted in the comments of one of my other videos, which is basically, where are Pinterest keywords located? So not where do you find them, but where do you find them on a Pinterest pin? And it's a little complicated. So let's go into Pinterest and I'll show you the most obvious places. And then I'll show you one place that's not so obvious that you might not have thought about. And it can be important. This is one of the pins that I've just pinned from it's my new/old blog. It's a long story, but it's a cake decorating blog, and it's an article about how to make coral out of icing for decorating under the sea cakes and beach cakes and that kind of thing. So basically, if you're looking at this pin, the most obvious place that the keywords would be found would be in the title. So you have to give the pin a good title that has keywords that you want to be found for. And you do need to do keyword research on Pinterest. Pinterest is a visual search engine. So people are attracted both to the pictures, but they're also attracted to the titles and the descriptions. And Pinterest looks at the titles and descriptions to decide what to show people. Plus, it also looks at activity on the pins and what people have subscribed to and what they've looked at before. It's a very complicated algorithm. If you want to learn more about this in more depth, join my Pinterest class. I'll put the link in the description, because this changes all the time. And it's just, there's a lot to it. And you'll probably see that as we go through this. So the first most obvious place is the title. Now, you also have the description. And if we look at this one, I did this pin relatively recently. I think the probably fast edible coral, maybe edible coral might have been a keyword I was looking for. Cake decorating was a keyword that I want to be found for. You have to put the keywords that you want to be found for in the title and the description at a minimum, because some pins have text and some don't, but you may want to make sure that you have the keywords in the places where Pinterest is reading it. So Pinterest reads the title. They also read the description. And I think edible coral is probably one of the keywords that I use, because I have it in the description here also. And then after that, they also look at the text on the pin. Now, we were having a discussion in the Pinterest Facebook group that goes along with the class about whether pins with text or without text would do better on Pinterest, because there are a lot of pins on Pinterest that don't have text on them. But if you put the text on the pin, it does give Pinterest a little more information. And I did a little test, and so far the one with text is doing better than the exact same one, but without the text. So if you add text on the pin itself, then that will give Pinterest more information, and it does read that. It reads that and also looks at the picture. So it looks at the picture of what's on the pin, and if that matches everything else, then it helps it to categorize it. Something else you can do to help it along with context is pin it to the right board. I have a board called Cake Decorating Tips and Tricks. When you pin something, you want to put it on the most relevant board first, because the keywords that are in the board title and the board description are also important. Pinterest looks at those, and it also decides from that, what context do we have with this pin? Another place that it looks is tagged pins, and you can do this when you create the pin in Pinterest. I use this create tool up here to make the pins, and I import the pictures that I create in Pin Generator, and then I fill everything out on Pinterest to make sure that everything is in the right place. I'll show you. When you create a pin on Pinterest, you upload a picture. I'll just find something random. And then this little tag shows up. Okay, tagging is really for products. So if you want to tag a product that goes along with the picture in here, you can do that, and it will show the extra pin underneath the one that you're creating. For example, on this one, I have tagged this, but this isn't a product. This is just another article. And this picture is also, I think one of the cakes in here has this coral on it. So this is related to that one in that way. And there are ways that you want to tag things on Pinterest. I go over that in the Pinterest class, but you can use this to kind of give Pinterest context. And when you do tag products, it's good, because then it will take people to those products, and it will show it under it in this More from a Cake to Remember blog. Now, if you don't tag them, it's just going to show you more like this, and they may or may not be your products or your articles. So by pinning and tagging things to this, you have all of these options that show up underneath it, and it's just a little bit easier for Pinterest to figure it out. And also it gives people something else of yours to click on. So far we have the title, the description, the text on the pin, the board name that you pinned it to, the description of the board that you pinned it to, and any kind of extra pins that you've tagged as being associated with that pin. And all of those things give Pinterest information about the pin itself, what it's about, and who to show it to based on their interests. There's a place where you can go to check to see what Pinterest has decided this pin is about. And to do that, you have to copy the URL of the pin, which will be, what is up in the bar when you have the pin open on your desktop. And then you need to go into an incognito browser or just a window that you're not signed in on. Go ahead and paste the URL for the pin into the browser bar and just open it up. And it will start giving you messages about signing in. Don't worry about that because you can't see this if you're signed in. And basically you're looking at these. These are little tags that show up that Pinterest has assigned to this pin once it's gone back and kind of looked at it. And what happens is you'll pin things, and then Pinterest eventually comes in and does kind of a sweep to find all the new pins, and it assigns it categories, and it says this is what it's about. And that's when these show up. So these might not be there right away. And it takes Pinterest a while. It doesn't do this all the time, but like it's a schedule and it changes. Pinterest changes a lot. But you can go in and see if these little tags that show up in the gray bubbles under your pin when you're not signed in actually do make sense. And if they do make sense, then you're okay. It doesn't mean that it's going to show up all the time for all of these. If somebody searches for mermaid party, it might not show up. But this basically tells me that this pin has been understood by Pinterest and my keywording is good. Now, if those words that you see under the pin, once it's been categorized, are weird, and sometimes you'll see things that make absolutely no sense to you, that's because there's a last place that Pinterest looks for information about the pin in order to know what you're linking to and what that page is about. And that's the page that you're linking to itself. So I have seen situations, and I'm not going to go in and look at examples, but I have seen situations where it's clear that Pinterest has gone to the blog post or to the sales page for the listing, and it's pulled words from that page, and it's using that to categorize your pin. So the places that Pinterest keywords are found: title, description, and the text in the image on the pin. The photo on the pin does matter also. You want that to make sense along with everything else. Also, the name of the board that you pinned it to, the description of the board that you pinned it to, any kind of related tags that you've, like other pins that you've pinned and tagged, that helps. That tells context. But then Pinterest also looks at the URL that you have put in there as the place that the pin is linked to, and it looks at the text on the page that you've linked to, and it pulls keywords from there. So it's not just the title. This is my whole point. It's not just the title. And again, if you're interested in finding out more about how Pinterest works, because it's a very good tool to use, but there's a lot that goes into it, sign up for my class. I'll put the link in the description. If you have any questions about this, this is a pretty basic topic. That's where the Pinterest keywords are found. So go ahead and ask me questions. Give this video a thumbs up. I will talk to you later. And if you have other questions about Pinterest, feel free to post those too.